All right, we're here with another episode of Grow the Game, and we got a special somebody today. So I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Skylar Blackburn, soon to be Jackson. I currently am the JV coach at BA and one of our Varsity Assistants. I've been there for 4 years. I'm in my 4th year right now. I have a total of 6 years coaching school ball and club ball seasons. I was a BA graduate, went on to play college ball at SMU, where I was one of our setters, and yeah.
All right, so you already kind of segue us into what is a setter and what makes them an important part of the game.
So your setter is kind of like, I like to think about it as your quarterback. They kind of run your offense. They are going to be involved in every play. They're not the kid that's going to jump up and, slam the ball, but they're the kid that's going to give the hitter the ball every time. They're kind of your coach on the floor sometimes. So, yeah, they run your offense and, yeah.
So explain run the offense, and when you say quarterback, people then have a visual of them calling the plays and executing. So what does that look like in the game of volleyball?
So as far as them running your offense, like I said, they're going to be involved in every play. So as long as you're in system or close to in system, they're going to be the one delivering the ball. They're going to be the one making lots of decisions of who to give the ball to. So, when I say run the offense, they're going to be the one deciding what hitter gets to hit what ball and what timing. As far as calling plays, if you're a team that calls plays in transition or before serve receive, they're going to be the ones that decide to call plays, maybe based off of where the blockers are on the other side. If you have a smaller blocker on the right side or a bigger blocker on the left side, they're going to be the ones to take in that information and then decide where to put that ball to hopefully get their hitters the best advantage.
So it sounds like an important position. Would you say that is the most important position on the team?
So I'm a little biased, obviously, that being my position, but I do think, obviously having a really great hitter is advantageous to a team, but I think having someone who, like I said, can see defenses and see shortcomings of other teams and find good matchups, they can make your hitters that much more successful. So while I don't necessarily think there might be a most important position, I do think it's up there. But to have good sets, you got to have good passes, and then your good sets don't go anywhere if you don't have a good hitter. So it's a good team sport.
Yeah. So BA went to the state championship 2 years ago, which you were a part of. What was that like for you as a coach, first off, and then we'll run as to a player later?
It was exciting. It was really great to see our girls who have worked so hard. We had 11 seniors with that class, and it was really special to see them work so hard for so long. And a lot of them played club together, and they just were really a special group of girls. But it was truly amazing to watch them grow from sophomores, because that was my first year at BA, was their sophomore year. But to get to watch a lot of them go from JV players to varsity starters and work hard and be dedicated, and see them in the gym in the summertime and see them in strength and conditioning where they were leading their teammates and getting stronger in the summer and putting in all the extra work, to see it finally pay off was really awesome.
So what's it like as a player, maybe, seeing them interact, but also I know you went to state a couple times. So what is it like as a player?
Honestly, while it's special to go as a player, it's hyped up and your school's excited for you and you're just riding on pure adrenaline. Once you step on the court, it kind of just becomes another game. You kind of just get into, your job and your whatever your duties are to carry those out, and just playing volleyball. I think it honestly was a little more nerve-wracking being a coach, because you can't do anything about it at that point. You've given them their tools and their skills, and now you get to sit on the sideline and hope that all your hard work pays off. But obviously it's definitely something special to get to go as a player and a coach. But if I had to pick one to say that was less nerve-wracking, I think I'd rather play the game than coach that game, because it's hard to sit there.
So you said You guys had 11 seniors that year. You guys went. What was, I assuming that was part of it, led you guys to getting there? Because it was quite the season. You guys went like 32-3 or something.
Yeah, 33-3 by the end of the season. We spent a lot of our preseason that year doing skills training, and I took the setters. Our preseason, we did 2 days, and our morning sessions were skill sessions, and our afternoon sessions were more scrimmaging and working in rotations. But I think that gave us quite an upper hand, obviously, like you said, or like I mentioned earlier, 11 seniors. They've played around each other for a long time, and that chemistry is something that's so important. And they kind of had a jump start on that for so long. But in the summer, we spent quite a bit of time. We spent quite a bit of time doing specific skills, getting better at our position. So like I said, setters were with me, defenders and servicey was with Coach Jess. One of our staff at the time, she was a college hitter, so she took a lot of our hitters and worked on hitting and blocking. And we just really specialized our kids in their skills, so that way when it came time to come all together as a team, we were all firing at our highest abilities.
So you already kind of alluded to this too, is that you had a former libero, a former setter, a former hitter. Like, how much do you think that helps a high school program, having kids that have played those positions that they are now coaching?
I think it's probably something that's irreplaceable. I specialize in setting, and I know those things down to the core, and I spent a lot of my time in high school and in college training just that position and doing the little things and the fundamentals and working on individual needs for setters. And Jess was the same way with liberos, and our coach at the time, she was the same way with outside. So where I can coach my kids to be good defenders and good hitters and good blockers, and I know the whole game of volleyball, I might not know other parts of it as intimately as I do mine. So having all sides of the ball represented with someone who specializes in that, I think is something special. And I think it's probably hard to replace that with anything else.
Yeah. So what are some jobs maybe that you guys had throughout the season as those coaches? Were you maybe in charge of statting because you're good at stats, or were you just watching the setters, or was it kind of just to throw out any advice, kind of like how were you guys used?
So day to day in practice, obviously, like I'm the JV coach and our other coach is the freshman coach, and varsity, we all practice at the same time. So practices looked a little bit different, but during games, it was kind of understood. I don't know that it was necessarily a job written out for us, but it was kind of understood. Like I dealt with setters and decision making and talking about, why did we set that curl? You've already got 2 blockers going that one direction, and you've got someone one-on-one on the backside. Like let's jack the flow a little bit, or don't get stagnant. Make sure you're switching it up, or don't be afraid to go back to the same drill if we're being too predictable. Where I kind of let our other coaches deal with the hitters and the blocking and the defense, and we kind of just all had our own small group of kids, and they kind of would look to us for their specific needs. If they had a question on defense, they're probably going to Jess. If they had a question on why they made a hitting error, they were probably asking our other coaches. And our setters look to me a lot for advice or questions or just situational understandings, and I think that really helped because we're not giving conflicting information, and we're kind of just trusting our counterparts to deal with their side of the ball.
So with probably some JV 9th grade assistant type coaches out there, what would be some advice you would want to give them to help them do a better job?
I would say it's important to know what your varsity coaches, your head coach's goals are. If they want to run a specific system for defense or offense, obviously you want to know those things so that you're preparing your kids, because that's ultimately our job, is to prepare our kids to be ready for the varsity stage when it's their time. So I think it's important to know what your head coach wants out of you from your kids. And to remember, like, ultimately our wins and losses, they matter, but they don't go down in the record books. And it's our job to make sure every one of our kids gets better. I'm really competitive. It's hard for me to lose. I want to do everything to win, but I also know that while there's only 6 girls on the floor at one time, more than 6 of them are going to move on to varsity, and I need to make sure that all of those, that even those non-starters, are ready to go.
What are some ways that you can better yourself as a coach, even though you're not a head varsity coach? Because I think that's the way we talk about it on here often, is that way. But what's a way that we can better ourselves as non-varsity head coaches?
I mean, I think it's important for me. I try to focus on, obviously, settings where I'm comfortable, and it's what I feel like I excel in. So I try to do my best at making sure that I'm keeping up with other sides of the ball. If I don't feel super comfortable teaching something or a skill, I try to do my research and, just make sure that I'm keeping up those sides of the ball that aren't as natural for me in my coaching abilities. And going to like coaching clinics is a good thing. Talking to other coaches around me that aren't on my same team, but maybe excel in other things, or that they've had great success, or just making sure that we're continuously learning all the time, because that's what we want from our kids.
So, kind of talking about coaches clinics, we're going to put on one in July, and it's going to be a lot different than what I assume you've ever been to. You've been to coaches clinics, but they've been the big time. You got to travel to San Antonio or Omaha or Seattle or something. So, what's it like to go into those big ones first?
It can be overwhelming if you don't speak, if you don't know all the lingo or you don't have all the vocabulary. I know when I went my first year, the coach I went with, she had been a volleyball coach for a long time, but not at a high functioning program. Her knowledge was limited, and so of course you just don't know what you don't know. And when we went, it was a lot. I mean, you're sitting there with 6 D1 coaches like Russ Rose and just people that you watch on TV, and it's crazy because they're in the same gym with you, but they're throwing so much information at you. And some of it applies, but they coach high level kids, and sometimes it can be hard to figure out what you want to take away and what your kids can do. And then of course you've got to remember it all by the time you go home and you see your kids again. I've gone to 2 clinics of the same company, and the second time I went, it was like the first time I had gone, because everything I heard was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that the last time. But by the time I saw my kids again, I had forgotten, and it was a lot to take away, but a lot to learn from those clinics. They're really great, but there's a lot of information in them.
I think that's pretty spot on, that there is a lot of lingo that I think gets thrown out there at these clinics that maybe too much. I'd rather have too much than not enough, but I like the idea that it's always kind of a refresher. Even if it's the same stuff, you've forgotten it, or you were thinking in this way, I can apply this drill this way, but then you hear it the same way and you think, oh, well, I can tweak it this way. And it, so you can always get more info out of each time you go. With us putting on this clinic coming up, it's going to be much more smaller, locally kind of run. What do you think will be the advantage of doing that method?
I'm excited that it's going to be more local, because it'll be people that I feel like we'll be able to keep in contact with. There's quite a few coaches that we know personally that are going to come, and it'll be exciting to see their programs grow as a result of it, and get to watch them take that back and to their program and utilize those things. And I feel like with us all being local, it'll be a lot more comfortable maybe for them to reach out after the fact and say, hey, I remember you talking about this one thing. Would you mind elaborating a little bit more? Or, hey, can I call you and get on the phone and shoot this idea to you? Or, what do you think about this? Whereas opposed to, you go to these clinics and you watch these people who are obviously the best because they're at the top of the stage in our world of volleyball. But I don't know that I feel comfortable calling Rose on his cell phone and asking a question. Whereas I hope maybe some of the schools that we're going to see here in July, maybe they would feel comfortable calling one of us and saying, hey, can you help me with this? Or just building a community that's much more tangible for us.
Yeah. So you're going to lead several. What is just one of them that you think will, I don't know if I want to say benefit the most people, but do you think will be a really good one for people to come watch?
If I had to pick one of them, I guess I would probably pick the one that I'm going to do over basic stats and what's important. I feel like just knowing how to keep good stats is a strong suit for any program, especially people who have kids that are going to want to go play in college. You know, a lot of times recruiters look for some good solid numbers because it's just pure evidence of what a kid can do. And I'm hoping that equipping some of these coaches that maybe don't have them yet with the ability and the knowledge of how to take stats will obviously help their kids in the long run have some good information to give college coaches if they want to go on. And I feel like while most people can do the eye test pretty well and go, well, that kid looks good and our serve receive sucks. You know, sometimes when you look at the raw numbers, it's not what you think it is. And we as coaches get so used to our kids and you know, we've got a huge hitter that's having a bad day and we're like, but she's still our huge hitter. Well, sometimes that bad day is a bad day. And I feel like those numbers make things a little bit more real and are a better guide of what we need to be working on in the gym and who needs what practice. And if our libero is serve receiving a 2.4, but she can't dig the ball, then maybe that's where we need to be focusing on. Or we've got a hitter who's putting the ball away at a high efficiency and someone who's not, well, then maybe that hitter needs some more practice. So I just feel like it's a good tool to have to help shape a program.
What would you say maybe one or two of the most important stats if they just focused on one or two? What stat would you focus on?
Oh man, this is hard because like the whole what's the most important position game? You know, without one, you can't have the others. But in women's volleyball, serve and serve receive is detrimental. If you can't pass the ball, it's pretty hard to win. So if I had to pick just one to focus on, it would probably be team and individual serve receive numbers. You know, how well are we passing the ball? And then if I had to pick a second, it would probably be team and individual hitting percentages. You know, how efficient are we? Who needs the ball more? Who needs the ball less? And of course, you can break that down into each rotation. You know, in rotation 5, this person's hitting well, and in rotation 6, this person's not hitting well. You know, maybe it's where they start on the floor. They have to come running across, or are they already in their transition spot? But if I had to pick two, it would definitely be serve receive ratings and hitting efficiency.
Good. Thank you for coming on and giving us kind of an insight as far as a quality JV coach and someone that assists the head coach, and talking about what has led to going to state and what that's like. We talked about some stats, talking about clinics. So I appreciate you coming on here and letting us talk a little bit, and I hope to see you guys at the coaching clinic, just for us all to get better and to her point of kind of growing a community. You don't feel like you want to text Russ or email Mike Seeley, UCLA coach. It's like they would think I'm stupid. This is going to be much more Oklahoma people talking to Oklahoma coaches, and I think we're going to be able to talk to each other and grow past the clinic much more. And we just want to be able to put on something that can be accessed by everyone. And not everyone can afford, or every program can pay for, to send their whole staff to Seattle for 5 days so that they can watch this clinic that's
$350.
Yeah. So, I just want to be able to put that on and give them an opportunity so that they can grow as coaches, and, we can all better ourselves so that we can better our kids. And so it's our way of being able to grow the game in that method. So thank you so much.